Hello, my name is Jonathan Clark, also known as DJ Bolivia. I'm here with Francis Cormier, Urban Francis, and this video is going to talk specifically about the bass track, bass grouping, bass tracks within our project called Hijack, which is a techno track that we produced in Ableton Live. If this is the first video that you're looking at in this series, you should probably go back and check the overall video, Hijack Overall, first. That'll give you a better idea of what's involved in all of this series. And then if you want, you can come back to this specific video that's just about the bass within the project. Anyway, I'm going to assume that you've already seen that overall video, and we'll let Francis take it away.
Okay, I'm going to go through what we did for the bass. In the bass, what I did was I actually used a drum rack. And so what I did was I grabbed the samples, and if you drag audio samples in a drum rack, it'll actually automatically assign them in the pads here. And so I guess I had probably, I'll count them here, but 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. There's 7 different basses here, but I ended up only using 2 basses, and that's the bass here and the percussion bass there in purple. So that's a sample of the bass we used, and then I found it wasn't quite cutting through the mix. So what I did was I added this little percussive sound, little tick, and I have that hitting every time this bass sound hits. And I guess when I brought this in to Sampler has both 2 different views. It has a sample view and a controls view. So we'll start off in the sample view. So when you look at it, you can actually, if you scroll on it, it'll have a little 0 will come up, and if you pull in, if you pull in, it'll 0 in on it. If you pull out, it zeroes out. So what I did was I found a part in the sample that I actually really liked, and then what I did was I set these 2. You can set these 2 points that'll only play the length, that will only play what's highlighted, and I set it to 1 shot. So as I play it, it'll just play that. And actually, another important thing is the snap mode. And what happens is it's a zeroing thing. So like, if I didn't have the snap on, the sample might not start or end on the actual 0. And when that happens, you could get like clipping or distortion. But when you put the snap on, it actually really helps. When you put the snap on, it makes sure that the sample's in on the 0 crossings. Also on this sample, I guess, and we're in the sample view, you can see there's a classic mode, a 1-shot, and a slice mode. And I put it in the 1-shot because we're kind of using it as a 1-shot because instead of using the actual audio sample, we actually have MIDI drawn in, bass MIDI. So every time that as I click in actually the actual MIDI clip, you can see where the bass rhythm that we came up with. And one is the percussive sound, and if you can click on it, if this blue thing is enabled, when you click on the sound, it'll actually play that sound. So I guess I'll loop it and just let it play through once so you can hear it together. Control L, yep, and spacebar. Actually, I better make sure I have it. It probably is soloed. No, it's not. So we're just gonna solo the bass and let it play through for 8 bars. So that's it's really only playing the first part of the sample until till the very end there, that longer section where you hear the whole sample play out. Press pause or spacebar to stop it. So we're gonna go back in and look at the sampler. Actually, I should show you the sampler. If you want to I didn't show you this, but the sampler is up under instruments, and what I did use was the drum rack. So when you use the drum rack, within the drum rack, there's 128 samplers. So each bass that I bring in here, if you look at the we're looking at this one pad. So this is a pad of 16. So each one of these pads is actually in a sampler, and so we're looking within just the bass and the percussion that we're using. I guess the next part I should look at is we do have a filter on it. So what I did was I actually assigned, because it's a drum rack, you can actually, I'm thinking on this, it's right click. So yeah, so what I did was I actually mapped the filter to the drum rack. And so the filter is mapped to the drum rack. And if you look over here, I actually colored it into a bright yellow so you could see it. And one of the most powerful things of this was I only wanted kind of the lower 1000 in the bass. And the reason why I wanted that, and I'll show it to you in a bit, was because of the LFO. If the frequency is really high, you can't really hear the effect of the LFO. So what I did was if you click on this map button, you can see up here it gives you a min and a max. So what I did was I set a min at 290 and a max at 1000. So the filter on the drum rack is only, even though it's going from it's from 0 to 127 on the actual thing, but so the way I have it set up on map, what happens is the high will actually it'll only go to 1 and the low will be at 290. And the main reason why I did that was because if you want to look at it, you'd have to go to controls, and so now you can visually see the filter. And so I'll play it through and we'll watch the filter move. So as you can look in the bottom there, I have it's called automation. So I have automation drawn in. So as the track progresses here, the filter's opening up, and then it's going to restart again. So as you look across, that is the filters opening up, all those little red marks. And in different parts of the song, I want it to open up a lot, and in different parts, I don't. And the main reason why I put this filter in is because I wanted to get a wobble sound. And so to get the wobble, we'll go back to the sample again. If you look there, so that's the filter itself. But beside the filters is an LFO. And if you listen to our bass, you can just hear that. You can hear a wobble. So I'll take the LFO off and you'll hear the difference. And then if you go in the control section where for the LFO, this is an interesting part. For the LFO, so you can if you look below here, there's the volume. So the LFO can affect the volume, the pitch, the filter, and the pan. So we're using the filter. So I wanted the LFO to react to the filter. And right now I have it at a more mild setting at 12. But if I put it up to 24, it should be even more audible, the wobble. And you should be able to hear it more, especially at the last bar. That part there. And on the LFO, you can actually change the settings, the rhythm that it plays. Go back to stay on the controls, and I have it playing 1/12 notes. But you can change that to 8th notes, 12th notes. You make it faster. Now you can hear it going really fast. But I found that 1/12 was the best setting for what I was looking for. And I guess if you move down here, there's other controls. The only other thing that I used was I guess I did use this as a volume control. And in the bass, there's all these in the track and in this processing chain. There's different parts where you can control the volume. So they assign the volume to 0, but it's always good to turn it down and gives you more control further on. So actually, these are balanced at 5.8, but this volume at 4, I probably adjusted that too. But the big thing after that, with this track, I'm just going to press pause. I'm going to press spacebar, I guess. The next, the big part after that with this track was the EQ. And it looks kind of crazy, but the reason why I did a dip there with the 8 was the filter itself this is the filter within the sampler never goes higher than 1000. So this is supposed to only break, this on this filter should only go up to 1000 too, but it does seem like it goes higher than 1000. Especially when you visually see it. Well, I guess there's 1000 mark there, is it?
Yeah, there's not a lot.
No, it's not
above.
Yeah, there's not. So I guess these settings, the reason why I put the nodes where there are, is that's kind of the very end of the bass. So I kind of wanted to get that last mid-range sound. So I boosted it there, And then these ones are more for, I thought they were sweet spots. So I found like a sub sound, kind of a sub sound there, and this is more of a low mids. And on the end of the chain, I have a utility, and what the utility is doing is it's actually narrowing the width to make sure it's more mono. Like if I have this off the sound in this, like when you're using a bass sound, you kind of want it to be in the middle of your speakers. So I put the utility on, and you can adjust the settings, but usually in a sub sound, you want it, and you do really want it in the middle. So a lot of times you might just have that down to 0, but I found you're gonna A/B and just test different levels, but I found 10 was what I thought sounded the best for what I was going for. So you can write in 10 and enter. So that's what I use. I guess another big thing I should talk about is that I showed you how you can adjust volumes, but the one thing is when you adjust volumes down here in the processing section, it actually, and so what you would think is if you went down here and you had the gain there and you took it down to -12, so you went down -6. If you went up into this part of the track, into the instrument part, to make up that gain, and you added 6, the volume change gets louder as you move up. So like +6 here, and +6, and then +6 at the bass at the instrument setting, and +6 at the group setting. It actually does change. It's just slight, but when you're mixing and mastering, it's actually a lot.
Yeah, you've just got to test stuff and listen over and over again every time you're making changes, basically.
Yeah, definitely.
So.
And like the other part of the bass that I showed you it's just a percussion sound. So I'm just trying to get that little, it's kind of a click that I'm trying to get to help.
An accent.
Yeah, accent. Okay. And then on the group itself, we do have processing on it. And the compressor, what I did was, this is what you do in this case is it is in a group. So you could go on group. So this is a compressor, and this is an overdrive setting. But so I'm gonna go Command Z and put it back. I put them together. It's not that I had to do it, but I thought maybe I was gonna do some automation. But the big thing here is I just did general compressor settings, and I'm trying to get a little bit of gain reduction. What you're trying to do is get a little bit of gain reduction, and to affect gain reduction, if you clank on the ratio, that should increase it too. But now that's the one thing you always want to make sure you're not getting any redlining, because it'll end up in distortion and clipping in your track. So Command Z on does it, but it's really this gain reduction that I'm looking at, and just using the attack and the release and the threshold. So I guess in this case, I set the attack at 300 and the release at 300. And for the threshold, I was just looking to get a little bit of that GR, a little bit of that gain reduction. So I found it -28 is what I thought sounded good. But as I move the threshold up, as you can see, there's less gain reduction. And when that's showing no gain reduction, that means you're not getting any compression. So it's actually not really doing anything. It's just sitting there. But I'm looking to get a little bit of gain reduction. And so actually, if you click on that, you should be able to put 28 back in, or actually might go +28, so that's good. Well, I guess the highest it can go is +6, so you do have to put a -28 in to get it back. For view, there is 3 different views, but actually I use this view a lot too. But I use this view, and I never really use this view. There's a look ahead and the knee. The knee is kind of important because it tells you how fast the actual compressor is going to react. So the knee, it goes up to 18, and that's a very gradual. And as you go down, it becomes more hard lines. So 0 is a very hard knee, which means the compression is kicking in right away when it goes past the threshold. So 6 is kind of a general setting. 6 back in, and I have the dry wet all the way up. The enhancing here I'm using, without it, like the sound becomes very enhanced. I think it is a preset, and I probably mess with it, but it's an overdrive. But you'll really notice when I turn it off that the sound's gonna kind of disappear. Becomes very subby. So what this thing is doing, it's actually adding distortion to the frequencies, and especially because I have an EQ on it, so it's actually a very focused distortion. And all these settings are just playing around with the drive, playing around with the tone. I don't mess too much with the dynamics But the dry wet's important too, like finding the right setting, and you're just A/Bing all the time. And I also I also have here is this. I didn't end up using it, but I was kind of comparing the saturator and the overdrive, and I ended up going with the overdrive. This also boosts it. It gives it like harmonic distortion, but this really gives it a focus that it didn't have. It really helps it cut through the mix.
You can downsize that if you want. No, don't close the.
How do I do that? And the other thing on here is I have is the sausage fattener, and that's just probably not. Well, I have it boosted a little bit more than I did on the drums, so that's at a 12, and this is probably at like a 6. So that's at a 6. So once again, we're using the sausage fattener, and that does. I mean, you'll take that out, and it feels like it's missing something. It's very slight, but it's something. It's a boost. And I'm not sure if I really talked about the actual automation that we did. Okay, I guess I have to. I'm not sure how to side scroll on this. Just use arrows?
Use this one.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I guess I didn't really go through what we did here, but these are all drawn in, and there's different ways. Like there's different ways of you could draw it. You can bend them too by pressing. If you press Alt, you can give it more of a. You can bend your automation, so you can have it going that way. You have it going right away, and you can set by clicking on the line. You can set different points. So you might want to have it bent a lot like that. And like some people draw in their automation. I mean, some people record in their automation to get a natural sound, but I like drawing it in and bending it. It's I don't know. I find it easier and it gives it the sound that I want.
It's certainly faster.
Yeah. So that's the automation. The last part. So I did go through the processing on the bass, and I guess the big thing to take from this is, I know what it's the tough thing is like you're producing and you're like doing everything you think, and then it's like it just doesn't sound like the pros, or it doesn't sound like the tracks you're listening to, and it's something I'm still trying to keep getting better at, to get closer to the levels that the people that inspire me. So it's really the big difference that I'm learning. It's really through processing and EQing. It's just those little things like that little enhance that we put on there, the sausage fattener. Within the track, we use the LFO, EQ, adding that little percussion sound with the bass to make it cut through the song. And that's pretty much it, I guess, for the bass.
Yeah. Let's move on to the next video.